I beat the feds from the federal prison while I was living right there in their house. I'm Jack from Fed Joints to Beer Joints. But I'm going to tell you about how I became a jailhouse lawyer, and a successful one, at 3 different institutions. I'm going to go right to the day I was sentenced. I'm not going to flower around this whole thing, big background we got time to talk about. But the day I was sentenced in federal court drove me into becoming a jailhouse lawyer. Follow along on this. First of all, I was guilty. Not of everything the feds said, because they flower things up. They will do that. I call it lying. But I was guilty of the original crime, and I knew that. So I wanted to enter a guilty plea. They wanted me to tell on other people. I ain't going to do that. So my attorney worked out a deal with the feds, and we signed a plea agreement. I signed it. The federal attorney signed it. My attorney signed it. We all signed it. We have an agreement. Jack's going to prison for 10 years for his crime. Just before we go into court to enter my plea, my attorney walks off and comes back. And he tells me, they've decided that they are going to ask for 12 years instead of 10. I said, they who? He goes, well, the federal prosecutor. I said, the guy who signed the plea agreement with me? Oh, yeah. I said, I thought we had an agreement. Lesson 1, they lie. Plea agreements are no good. Keep that in mind. All the plea agreement does is tell the court you're not going to trial. And we'll tell about how bad it is if you go to trial in the federal system later. But that's all it is. It doesn't mean anything to them. You have to abide by it. They don't have to. Okay. So now they're going to ask for 12 years. I'm thinking we've got a plea agreement. The judge, being the judge and fair and unbiased, will say, well, wait a minute. This guy's got a plea agreement. We got to go by that. Just before we go in the door, I walk into the men's room. And this guy who I had seen around the courthouse area before said to me, hey, good luck. He says, you're probably going to get 15 years out of this. What? I didn't know who this guy even was. Later, I was to find out he was a federal employee. 15 years. I signed for 10. They're talking 12. This guy's saying 15. What is this, a goddamn auction? But I'm still thinking that the system works. So I meet my attorney. We win. We sit down. They go through all this legal rigmarole. Everybody says their piece and that kind of thing. And then the judge, there was like 4 counts, I think it was. And so the judge started going, I'll give you 3 years for this, 2 years for that, blah, blah, blah. And I'm doing the math, and I didn't have a calculator with me. Didn't need one. But the number is 15. 15 years is what I got. Not the 10 I signed for, not the 12 that the federal prosecutors asked for, the 15 the guy in the bathroom told me about. Think about it. So anyway, that's my first experience that really told me in the federal system that this whole system is ridiculous. Now I'm going to go to the other part. That's the judicial part. That's the judge and the prosecutor and stuff. Now let's talk about the attorneys. If you're an attorney, I'm going to pick on you, hang on to your shorts. That's just how it's going to be for a minute. But you're going to find in the federal system a lot of times going in the door, having an attorney is almost pointless. For example, my attorney did little of anything, nothing. I gave the feds a written confession at the very beginning of my case. It still took him almost 2 years, a year and a half, or whatever it was, to solve it. I used to tease the feds when I was a cop, said, you guys came to solve a confession. I was right. I wasn't lying. All they did was threaten my family and all that stuff. I gave them all the numbers. Their audit came back. The numbers they got were my numbers. They added numbers to it that weren't real, but that was their deal. My attorney, his qualifier was, be prepared for this, he was a Christian. I was married at that time to a woman who was a Christian, and it was very important to her for me to have an attorney who wasn't a Christian, apparently. I didn't really care. I just wasn't looking for an attorney. I was ready to go to prison. I wanted to get it over with. Anyway, he would tell me numerous times that I was lucky to have a Christian for an attorney. Well, apparently Jesus wasn't in court the day I went in there, because Jesus might have said, give the guy 10. That's what he signed for. Well, I'm an atheist. I'll put that out there right now. So I think Jesus was going to be there, and him being a Christian meant nothing. My attorney was weak, very weak. I'd known that from when I was law enforcement. A lot of attorneys are weak. Attorneys are like everyone else. Everyone gets this idea, well, I've got an attorney. People, they say, I went to my attorney and this is what he said. I said, is your attorney right? They go, yeah. Is he always right? They go, yeah. Well, why do we have court then? If everybody's attorney's always right, why do we have court? Everybody's right. Nothing to argue about. It's all BS. First of all, attorneys are, write this down, human beings like the rest of us. Think about it. If you need your car worked on and you take it to a mechanic, some mechanics are good and some mechanics are bad. If you need your hair cut, you go to the barber. Some barbers are good, some barbers are bad. Attorneys, some are good, some are bad. But let me tell you the issue with a lot of attorneys that I met. Number one, in dealing directly with court now, in the criminal world, not all fields. Number one, they're lazy. Defending a criminal case is work. And a lot of them, don't garner enough money, they believe, in order to make a strong defense. They don't. It's a fact. Look around you. If you're ever in prison, you'll see cases, you go, how the hell, even if this guy's guilty, did he get this sentence? Because he had a lazy attorney. Number two, incompetence. I have been amazed at how incompetent some attorneys are. I won't even use the word shocked. One time someone told me this, and it's very true. They say, what do you call the person who finishes dead last in their medical class? You call them doctor. They get the same degree the guy who finished first. Same thing with attorneys. Same thing with mechanics, probably, and barbers. I don't know. But the incompetence of some attorneys it's almost a miracle it can even happen to be that bad. The third thing is, in the federal system, a lot of attorneys are scared of the feds. They are. The feds have all the weapons in the world, and defense attorneys have very few, apparently. In my case, my judge is the woman that everybody was scared of. Just scared. We'll bring her up later. You can read about her. It was crazy how scared these guys were. Now I want to talk about the good ones, because there are really good attorneys out there. And in the world of criminal prosecution, the really good attorneys are very expensive, or you can't even get to them. They're just not available because they're good and everybody wants them. And so unless you got the bucks, I didn't. And most people don't have enough money. You have to literally turn your life inside out and sell your life and all your goods and your belongings to defend yourself in a federal court unless you're a wealthy person. That's a fact. Like it or not, that's a fact. My attorney, as being the Christian that he was, did very little but come to my house. He came to my house. I made house calls. How could an attorney make house calls? And all he would do was sit there and he'd say, how are you doing? And I'd say, well, I guess I'm doing okay. And he'd write that down. And he'd say, well, do you have plans this week? Are you going to maybe talk to the counselor? I don't know. And he'd write that down. And then he charged me for it on the retainer we put in. The only time I really heard him talk in court at all was when we ran out of money. I ran out of money, and we would have to appoint him as a court-appointed attorney for the very last hearing. And all he did at that hearing was make sure the judge got him paid for that hearing. That's the only time. Boy, he put on a great argument for that. Judge, oh, don't worry about that. We'll take care of it. That was it. The other thing I want to tell you about in the federal system is something called a pre-sentence investigation, PSI, and that's a frightening thing. Mine was so screwed up. It's where they kind of come up with this idea how long they're going to sentence you. Doesn't really work. We'll talk about that later. So that's what it is. I'm a jailhouse lawyer, was a jailhouse lawyer, and yet today I am out, and I still am advocating and trying to work for some of the unfair sentencing practice the federal government have. There are guys who've been sentenced for ungodly years that if they were in the state, they would be out in a third of the time. It's not a joke. And the system is so tilted towards the wealthy, it's ridiculous. We'll be talking about those things. I hope you subscribe and follow along. This is the start of a series. We're going to go in detail on some cases. We're going to have some people you've probably heard of that are involved that we worked with, and some things inside the system will shock you. We will talk about the judicial system and from real experiences, law enforcement from the law enforcement side from real experiences, and inmates in the federal prison system from someone who also experienced that. How fortunate I am to have done all three. Maybe not fortunate. It's probably not the word. Anyway, this is Jack from Fed Joints and Beer Joints. Subscribe, follow along. Take care. We're going to talk to you soon.